Two of our spots in the Countdown Cup semi-finals have been decided. There's still two more, though, to decide today. I'm Mitch Leslie, joined by Matthew Morello. And Matt, we are back. We've had a slight shuffle in schedule today, but it doesn't change the fact that the games are going to be sick.
No, and I think this game has the potential to be probably the closest one that we'll have in the quarterfinals. Atlanta and Florida. Atlanta, they just beat the Vancouver Titans to get here. Didn't seem like nobody was really confident in picking them. They end up going to the Mayhem here in the quarters.
And of course, you know, there's a huge opportunity here for Florida to have their rematch against the San Francisco Shock.
That's
two
true.
Teams that we thought to be sort of in the same league as each other, although they fell, quite short recently in their head-to-head against the Shock. So we'll have to see if they can shape up, or they'll be shipping out awfully quick. But first, they need to get through the Atlanta Reign, who swept through the Vancouver Titans on Friday, Matt. That wasn't a remotely close series. We even saw the inclusion of Saucy, who got promoted from their academy roster.
Yep.
And against opposition like the Titans, he looked very good.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it with opposition as the Titans. I think the Titans, they've looked better as of late. They performed well in our previous tournament, but they're kind of in contention with Boston, right? They're down there near the bottom. They're fighting.
In contention with Boston.
They're fighting to get into these tournaments a lot of the time. So I don't know how much stock you put in that win for Atlanta.
All right, let's have a look at their starting six, though, and you can see Saucy will begin the series in the lineup alongside of Edison, and then the usual. It'll be Gator and Hawk with Dogman and Masa to round out their roster here. And look, the Atlanta Reign, they managed to shake the monkey off their back, right? The whole meme about them not being able to win a series in which they lose a map. They did that against the Dallas Fuel, but it's the Dallas Fuel. All right, we just made a caveat, I think, about them beating Vancouver, and you can say the same of Dallas. Atlanta have always beaten teams that have been ranked lower than them. It's about, sort of rising above their station that they've struggled to do as of late.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas still, with all of the changes and things that have gone on with the organization, they still have talent on the roster. So I do give Atlanta some credit for, that type of win, right? And I think Atlanta, I've been pretty high on them throughout the season, even when we see them at their worst. I think they have the potential to stand up to a team like the Florida Mayhem, with the Florida Mayhem being one of the better teams in NA.
Well, we don't need a cardboard cutout time machine from Watchpoint to cast our minds back to the last time Atlanta and Florida played. Man, it was, week 24, I think it was. So 3 weeks ago there. And the win versus the Atlanta Reign was part of that Countdown Cup qualifier run. So they look pretty comfortable in that series in general. It felt like Atlanta, that was where we thought Atlanta kind of had the idea, right? They could play Genji Tracer, and we're like, they can handle any team that fields Ashe, right? They know how to put pressure on them. When they went up against Atlanta last time, they couldn't get to BQB. Edison couldn't do a darn thing to affect their backline, and the Mayhem had such incredible peel, but BQB individually was able to stay self-sufficient and stave off the Tracer of Edison.
I will say, when we casted that match, BQB being able to handle the Tracer in the one-on-one scenarios was like a huge part of that series. But I believe Atlanta did win one map. They won Route 66, if I remember correctly, and that was because they were really aggressive and they were actually putting pressure on BQB at multiple angles, and they were able to win that map. So don't be surprised if we see Atlanta try and do the same thing again. Put pressure on BQB.
Let's see if they can figure it out this time. They'll obviously have a little bit of a different lineup, at least for the first map. But let's talk about Gargoyle, Matt. His Sigma has definitely been one of the front runners. We talk about it all the time. Incredibly powerful hero, capable of doing a lot of stuff. Often responsible as almost being like a second frontliner on and off angle, right? You see like maps like Hanamura is a good example where Sigma really has to hold his ground. And if he gets caught out of position, that's when that effectiveness is drastically reduced. Gargoyle really dominant when it comes to final blows and actually getting involved in taking control of opportunities to find kills.
Right, and you have a few off tanks up for the T-Mobile MVP. You have like Krong, Choi, Void. I think Gargoyle is a player that, as time goes on, will reach that level. I think each year we've seen him in the league. We saw him at the end of last year really start to pick up when he got picked up by Florida. And then this year we've seen his performance really be good with more quality players added around him. I feel like he's a player that could lead this Florida franchise to some really nice things in the future.
Yeah, that gamble, I guess, on the two WGS Armament players by Bare Hands and Co. back then, looks like it's really paid off. They are looking good and Gargoyles really emerged as a front runner, with Fate sort of still as the veteran head, still running things from the front. Ilios is going to be our first map of this series, and Lighthouse is where it all begins. The Atlanta Reign have a lot to prove right now, and again, every time we put them up against these top teams, we say, okay, your destiny's in your hands. You prove to us that you can hang in that top 3. Otherwise, you'll be on the outside looking in more often than not for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I think it's about time they realize their potential as a team, that they have the pieces. I mean, this is a team coming into the season we were all extremely high on, that I know they could contend for one of the top spots in NA. So we'll see Florida lock in. They'll go with the, okay, so this is a nice composition. So you have the Sombra with the Genji, you have a Winston with the Zarya in terms of like dive now. It seems to be pretty popular. You see Atlanta Reign running pretty much the identical comp.
Yep, they are. Identical composition. Sombra Genji with the Ana Brig combination. Yaki playing at medium range, but that's a chunky bite of grenade there connecting from Dogman. Chris and Gangnam Jin hit by that, but BQB was actually able to find Edison, and you can see it was a headshot kill, so it's likely he caught Edison by surprise. And now BQB gets to play comfortably at this range and build up that EMP.
Yeah, so we've seen BQB play Sombra in the past, and we know he's one of the better ones in NA. So this is a composition that really plays towards Florida's strengths, right? You get Fate on the Winston, BQB on Sombra. You really like this composition for the Florida Mayhem.
Dogman's got a bit of room now, and he dispenses the nano boost towards Gator, who wants to just try and attack the biggest club of Florida Mayhem players possible. He got what he asked for. Chris goes down, he's connecting with the jump. And now Gator's going to use his Primal Rage here just to hold up Fate a little bit more. Atlanta get the point.
He occupies like 3 players with that Primal Rage, and they flip the point. This will be a Blade that comes in, a Nano Blade for the Florida Mayhem. Yaki gets 1, goes in on Dogman, not able to finish him off though.
Now, Saucy was actually able to take him by surprise with a swift strike there. No time for Yaki to swing at the Genji, didn't even know what hit him. But the Mayhem move back into control here, and we're going to have potentially 2 EMPs coming up in this next fight. A lot of big ultimates. Grav is going to be there. The difference maybe being that Saucy has the Blade, but he won't have a nano, as Dogman gave that to Gator prior.
So, see a rally open things up here for Masa, and it's an EMP that comes through. Connects with, what, 1 player there. It just takes out Fate, so you get a solo EMP on Fate. It's enough to flip the point.
Fate goes down, of course, with the Primal Rage. No chance to use that in order to stay alive. And Atlanta get what they asked for there. Gator and Hawk both get hacked for the time being. Hawk didn't have his Graviton Surge available anyway, and with Gator going down, it's not likely that he'll look to use it. Maybe some stall on the point here, yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Graviton comes out there very quickly. Gargoyle wants to retake the point.
And Hawk uses his towards the end?
That's bizarre.
As it looked like you had just lost Saucy. You were in the process of losing Bossa because it was like a 1v3 on the point. To use the grab there, that is one you most certainly would want to have back for Atlanta.
I mean, we thought it was strange already, Gargoyle going for the grab when there was only 2 players on the point left for the Atlanta Reign. Hawk maybe was hoping that he'd buy enough time for reinforcements to come, and a gambit like that could actually, you know, give them a huge economic boost, but it didn't work out. Fate tries to dive in though, Matt, but he gets hacked instantly. But he returns when he isn't hacked and has the Primal available.
Oh, look at he knocks the Zarya up to the high ground. So now they deal with Hawk, but tremendous job from the Florida Mayhem being able to even keep Fate alive through that. He's so low up on the high ground. I believe he gets hacked at one point.
Yeah, he got like a bubble very quickly.
Yeah, Biotic Grenade gets the bubble. Atlanta does have a lot of ultimates coming into this, so let's see if Edison can land a big EMP. It looks like the way Florida's spreading, they have an idea this is coming.
And remember, no Batiste here, so those nano blades can be that much more devastating. If Atlanta want to go for that kind of play, Saucy gets hacked for the time being harassed by BQB. It is the EMP onto 3. Yaki unable to pull his blade for the time being, but he doesn't need to because Gangnam Jin finds 3. Are you kidding me? Saucy goes down at the end there, and of course, the Mayhem will wrap things up here and now without having to use ultimates in a fight where you'd think Atlanta would have the advantage as a result.
Yeah, but that was so smart, though, from the Florida Mayhem. So Gator gets on the point, and what they're trying to do is draw Florida Mayhem members back to the point so they can get an EMP, end up winning the fight that way. The Mayhem don't fall for that bait. So what happens is we saw it a little bit, I think, from, it may have been BQB's perspective. But the translocator was actually destroyed of Edison, so he was just kind of roaming around mid-map there. No real opportunity to go anywhere. And they end up getting a hack onto Saucy. They end up taking him out, which results in a really late blade towards the end. And then they end up just kind of working their way back towards the point, and the EMP is never an issue there for Florida.
They're just having to weather the storm. I mean, they don't even lose any players during that EMP as it was. Saucy not being given any nano boosts there, so it was definitely more about nanoing Gator and allowing the Genji to try and find something. Saucy only gets the one final blow to Yaki's 4 though as the round's done. And BQB's a big fan of Reaper. Any opportunity to switch, he goes for it. Now it's even scarier for Gator to try and engage, even with nano boost.
Yeah, and they play Lucio and Moira, so they're just going to use this Reaper, get him in right into the face of the tanks. And Reaper doesn't care for Sombra at all. If Reaper gets hacked, he's essentially the same hero. I mean, doesn't really rely on his abilities to do damage, or I mean, what, he has teleport for the mobility, but
I mean, same with Wraithwalk, right? All of his abilities are really only intended to be used outside of combat, but once he's engaged, he's
exactly, he's in there.
Double down.
So hacking a Reaper or trying to dive a target that is standing next to Reaper is pretty difficult to do.
Florida in control right now. Their composition designed to close the gap. Climbing into the rain's ear holes and blasting Rick Astley remixes is what Florida want to do this round. Dogman, okay, so that's a nano again towards Gator.
He's
still not safe.
Though. Yeah.
Yep, and he still has to worry about the Reaper as well. Even with that damage reduction, the Winston is still at great risk of being chucked down by the Hellfire shotguns. But Gator plays it fairly safe and sticks to Chris. Gangnam can't keep him alive with the Coalescence. Gator now has Primal Rage. The point was just capped here by Atlanta now, so they are now on the board. Florida getting an early cheeky 41%.
Yeah, not bad for Atlanta though. It's looks like they're potentially just gonna. I thought Gator was like looking for somebody back here, but looks like they've taken out everybody. Where Atlanta comes into this next fight, and they'll have Blade, they'll have EMP, and now they can start to cycle some of these ultimates. You can cycle like a Nano onto Gator, you can then come back in the next fight with like Blade EMP. So Atlanta's not in a bad spot. They're gonna match Florida's progress on the point pretty quick.
The EMP difference here might be significant, even if it doesn't really bother Reaper too much. It will make it harder for him to get to the fight. Right, BKB quick TP up top side, doesn't see much now, just wants to push through here with the speed boost of the Genji, and Saucy now is going to go for the Blade. Has to reflect awfully early into that channel though, and BKB still taken down by Edison though. So bear in mind, Atlanta are still in charge. They're not going to lose the point here, and any stagger is just extra percentage gain for them.
And it looked like Gargoyle thought Saucy was going to come in a little bit deeper and try and make a play with that Blade. Threw out a grab to try and capture him, and got a big old goose egg. Got an uncle egg there with his grab. Didn't result in anything. As now Florida, you come back. If you try and engage it like Sound Barrier, they're going to have a grab on the other side. The grab for Atlanta allow them to build up some more on the Blade EMP. So Atlanta's starting to look in control.
All right, there it is. Hawk lets a grab go at rather long range, and it's Yaki put to sleep while he's in the Blade, and he's able to find a finish. Master gets him with the whip shot. And Gator with the Primal Rage. This is going to be a pause being called here. Fate trying to wonder why he couldn't use his Primal Rage. Someone should probably just tell him that, yeah, he got hacked, and that's why.
Yeah, so it looks like we have a pause here from the Mayhem side of things. But to give you guys just like an update on like the state of the game right now, and we'll get back into it. Atlanta's got the point. They're 92%. And they're going to have Blade coming up for the next fight. So you'll have Blade for Florida. Florida will have Primal Rage to kind of stall out the point for the next fight. And then BQB with a Death Blossom, which Death Blossom could end up resulting in getting himself killed.
Yes.
It's pretty much what it's there for.
Quite possibly. Florida lose that fight. They have Coalescence and Sound Barrier. They have arguably far stronger support ultimates to leverage. And to be fair, Hawk's Graviton Surge, they look pretty speculative. It kind of fires it down range, and you know, Chris was still able to provide a Sound Barrier to the rest of his team. So it didn't seem like that was really the issue for Florida. So far, I mean, Saucy's had a much better round than he did earlier on. He's gotten himself 5 final blows in this round to Yaki's 1, to getting a lot more value on the Genji. Forcing the grab from Gargoyle as well is huge. There's such a power ultimate, and you force Azai to part with it, and you know, and then you still win that team fight. I would wager fights in which you deploy Graviton Surge and still lose are hard to come by and also crippling in terms of ultimate economy.
Look at the fight that Atlanta had when they grabbed. They used, Sound Barrier Coalescence, and they still were not able to end up winning it for the Florida Mayhem. So you see how powerful a grab like that can be in a round like this, where you may only get one grab depending on how it goes, which it looks like we're going to see from both teams. Getting a big old goose egg with a grab is a huge loss there for the Mayhem.
Yaki, though, looked very good at map number 1, and he's looked very good in the past. You want to see a little bit more Yaki action? Oh, you do? Okay, stick around. We've got something for you.
They know who he is, and now they have to try to kill him.
The guy just doesn't die, like, ever, it feels like. He definitely has to be a front-runner for Rookie of the Year at this point.
I think he's probably the best player on this team.
Sometimes you get consistency, or you get the sheer pop-off potential. Yaki right now, both.
That was a Yaki out of nowhere moment.
Yaki, that is filthy.
Oh, even a little tactical crouch. All right. He's already used to the Overwatch League.
Oh, come on, Yaki.
Come on, pal.
Just pulse bomb after pulse bomb. You can make a highlight reel of that alone. Another shatter! A third one! Yaki got!
Yaki just runs rampant on the...
Unreal. Just permanently popped off.
That was perfection.
There you have it. Yaki does it all, and he does it in style, repping Florida Mayhem skins. By the way, if you want to suit up like he does in-game, right now, we have double tokens. Double tokens if you're watching this on the Overwatch League website or through the app. So that's right where you want to be.
How do we get double tokens? Because we obviously do not watch through the app right now. But
no, I would have to have it open on my phone or on in another tab.
Yeah.
I could have the Overwatch League open on overwatchleague.com or the Overwatch League app, and I would be accruing double tokens!
Double tokens everywhere. I mean, that's a pretty impressive thing to do.
That's it. So if you want your double tokens, just do exactly the same thing. Get yourself over there. And if you want to get some nice Florida Mayhem skins, maybe you just want to upgrade from the old red and yellow ones.
You know,
you want to be a bit more current.
I had some red and yellow ones, and I was like, man, I feel like I'm going to get roast if I go into games.
Yeah, I think my friends aren't going to take me seriously if I turn up with,
So I got some of the new ones, and my friends still didn't take me seriously.
That might have had something to do with the fact that, I don't know, you were feeding.
No, I never feed. That's just a rumor.
Oh, man. Caster stacks are always a good time if you haven't gotten to see
Is it a good time?
Yet.
I've debated if it is.
Okay, well, it really depends. See, I think if you are one of the people in our caster stack that is actually just getting to do what they want, i.e. just throw for internet clout and subscribers, then it's probably pretty fun. But if you're, if you're one of the member of the casters that's responsible for at least trying to get a 49% win rate for the stack overall, i.e. you have to try really hard each game, maybe it's not that good. Maybe.
That's debatable, I think.
It's still debatable.
It's debatable, I think. So we're still waiting. Jump back into game. I think it'll be back in pretty shortly though. Still, we sit at the Mayhem up 1 point. They win on Lighthouse. Then we go over to Well, if you're just joining us. Well, right now, Atlanta has control of the point, 92% in their favor. Florida's coming in with like really two I don't want to call them non-factor ultimates, but when you have Blade on the other side, it kind of looks non-factor in terms of they'll have Primal to stall and then a Death Blossom, which, I mean, who knows? Maybe we see a Death Blossom, kind of make a big play from BQB, but that's where that game stands. So potentially we see this first map go to Ruins to decide it all.
Yeah, which would be interesting. Do we actually do we see either of these teams try and play like,
Widowmaker?
Try and play Widow or some sort of hit scan. Ashe can also get you a bunch of value just because you can play from a relatively safe high ground. Still going to get harassed, of course, by Genjis and such, but
Widow can just dominate Ruins in a sense, though, that like Ashe can't. Widow, with the ability to get 1 or 2 picks and just deter a team from coming towards the point, can turn all of Ruins into 2-fight territory, really. There's not really another hero in the game that can control that much of the pace of play.
Florida Mayhem are the ones, I believe. Well, actually, I can't quite tell who called the pause. It seems like both teams had a reason, maybe just to try and step aside for a moment.
Yeah.
Bear in mind as well, winner of this match goes up against the San Francisco Shock in our first semi-final. So, I mean, Florida, if they want to have any sort of confidence behind them going into their next match, this needs to, frankly, be one-sided. They need to give the Reign a shellacking. Otherwise, I don't think anyone's going to be bullish on them against the Shock.
Yeah, so Fatal used the Primal Rage as we get back in the game to touch the point. So, Saucy takes out Gargoyle Toads. Yeah, and there's the, I told you, it's instant death almost with the Death Blossom as Saucy pulls out a Blade, gets one that's probably good enough here. So it just looks like a few players from Florida just trying to get on, contest, just juggle the point here. This won't be enough to flip it though.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry. BQB got spanked there.
Well, I mean, the Death Blossom, we see that all the time. You go in, you're a stationary target. With so much shielding in the game, especially with these types of compositions, you can just like have a Brig just put the shield up, you know, hit a Sleep Dart, Brig stun, whip shot. I mean, there's so much to deal with that ultimate. It's almost like Rocket Barrage, right? Where you have to be, you're immobile and it just, it doesn't work right now.
You have to Zarya bubble your Reaper. I think if you want to get any sort of Death Blossom, I don't think you really have any other option against
any type of meaningful
like
one.
That.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you're against Brig Ana. Like, you know, world-class Brig and Ana players, like, you're probably just going to get CC'd before you can get, you know, even half of your channel out. So, all right, do we see... Okay, we do get double Widow from both sides. We teased this a little bit earlier on. There's much more safe vantage for snipers to play from here.
And we've seen way more of the BQB Widow than Edison. Because this is usually a role that Baby Bay would play for the Atlanta Reign. Obviously, Baby Bay retires, so now it is Edison's duty. Or they have Sharp on the roster. This is a hero that Sharp plays at a really high level. But see what Edison can do here against a pretty good sniper in terms of BQB.
Yep. I'd agree with that assessment. Daddy goes down early, walks into an extremely durable front line. And Atlanta Reign, I mean, maybe they don't expect this composition. They kind of walk into, you know, playing Winston Zarya versus double shield, which can be quite difficult. I mean, it's pretty hard to find really any damage at all. Gator seems to be content to stay with the Winston for the time being, though. And what's the interaction between these front lines here, Matt?
Well, the Winston helps, I was going to say helps Edison a little bit more, probably trying to put some pressure on to Yaki onto BQB, not to make him an easy dive target. You see he immediately goes away from Widow. One spawn, he gets dove on by Yaki, can't really find BQB. Immediately goes away from it. Now you lose Gator. And this is bad because you can't even have these flankers like go in and peek because Widow can just like a one-shot. Either Tracer or Genji. So this is where you get in a tough scenario if you're the Atlanta Reign.
Very difficult for Atlanta to access the back line of Florida, not just because they're so disparate, spread out, but also because of what stands in between them and their targets. It's accretion, it's halt, it's a ton of crowd control, and then if Gator gets past that gauntlet, he's going to get stuck with a Discord orb and take extra damage.
Look, and you're going to have to nano Gator to try to go in here.
Oh, Gator just has to use a mini jump to try and get forward a little bit there. He doesn't want to commit too much at all.
That's no good.
Look, the Atlanta Reign, they only really spend one ultimate here, but I mean, Dogman's nano goes to Gator, who gets absolutely zilch for it. There's a wholesale switch in
But what is
supports.
the plan, though, for the Atlanta Reign? Like, you can't even play around your Blade because Gangnam Jin's going to have Transcendence. You have, like, Supercharger Blade here for the Florida Mayhem.
How does Gator have to play differently now that his team is bringing Lucio Moira as supports?
Well, I mean, this will give him a little bit, obviously, more speed access to the back line. This will be the Transcendence here, as looks like Hawk is up off the side. Nothing goes right here for the Atlanta Reign. This is very difficult for Gator to play Winston into. There's a ton of CC, tons of just, like, he jumps in. Even if he's got a bubble, you get a shot from the Widow. Baptiste does a ton of damage.
I mean, he's playing with two proximity healers as well. Like, he has to be near to Dogman and Master outside of Coalescence to actually get healed, and that's kind of hard, but he's trying to get into a backline. BQB catches Master, who was only really looking for the touch to secure overtime, to be fair, and here comes Saucy's Blade, but that is, an immortality field, and BQB snaps his head off as he tries to peek up on towards the pillar. And now, safe as a house, BQB. I wouldn't build a house on the top of that pillar, but I mean, look, that's a matter of preference. Easy for BQB to clean things up and net Florida that first map.
I was going to say, at this level of play, allowing a Widow to just stand there and free fire on your team, you're not going to win those games. You can't, like, unless you have a really strong dive that you're extremely confident in, and you can make progress towards the back and put pressure on the Widow. If you don't match the Widow, BQB has nothing to worry about. He didn't that entire time. You see the position, he's just standing on top of a pillar in the open. He did that for most of the game. Being able to just land headshots as players come in. The Discord orbs help as well. And Atlanta not able to compete there on Ruins.
Hey, do you think that Atlanta don't go for Orisa Sigma because they don't want to try and match double shield with the Widow? Do you think like they feel like
well, what do you play?
Chance of
if you don't
full dive?
If you don't want to play Widow and you go double shield, you're going to play Ashe, who just gets outranged by Widow. So you're almost, like, in an odd way, your best chance is to go like full-on dive and try and maybe like take out a frontliner or two or somebody playing with the group and negate the effects of the Widow and just go from different angles. They're just not able to do any of that.
I mean, think back. Last time Atlanta played Florida, Atlanta did not want to play Ashe. They wanted to play Genji Tracer. So even though we know Edison has hit scan heroes in his pool, he wasn't interested in playing them. It looks like it was the same case here. And I mean, Atlanta suffer the same kind of consequence. We'll be back after this, ladies and gentlemen, with map number 2. And we'll see if Atlanta have more depth or this is as skin deep as it is. We'll see you in a moment.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Oscar, can you talk?
Hello, hello, hello.
Talk more?
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, just mute him. There you go.
Oh, dude.
Yo, over here. Ren.
Hey.
Guys, you sound hyped. Let's get it.
I'm ready.
Turn on your POV cams today, if you have one.
I'm taking today off, actually.
In the Outlaws League, you guys like my T-Mug? It's like a tree, and then some butterflies and stuff on the other side.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Invented condensation, that's annoying.
You gonna laugh at him?
I'll try not to laugh at him, but you know, can't promise anything.
Mirrors, it looks like his headphones are muted.
Christopher.
David, if he's muted, then you can't see it. That doesn't work.
Good point.
This guy.
I mean, y'all gotta say some stupid floating content videos they make.
No, they don't make any of us because we used to yell.
You're being a bad influence right now.
Going in!
Going on!
Okay, let's go. Real one.
Ew, what I'm saying? Wait, I'll try it
Back.
Oh my god!
I remember watching the end of that Houston match, and Gravy is like laughing hysterically in the back of his chair, and Kai's just staring at the camera, stone cold, dude.
Bumper batter.
better.
No, good better.
Bro, did you guys know Boston is in Massachusetts?
Capping?
No.
Yeah, I knew that.
This is definitely going in the comps.
Round number 3 of Ilios looks vastly better for the Florida Mayhem, and they still opt to make a change. After map number 1, Byram comes in. Fear for Chris. This is the Mayhem now. Looks set up to continue to push on.
Yeah, the Mayhem, they don't need a Lucio option for King's Row. This is where you'll play a lot of double flex support potentially. So you have Byram come in. We've seen them do this in the past where like you play Zen Batiste or you play Batiste with a Brig. You can do a lot of different setups here now that Byram's in without the Lucio.
Kings Row is up next, and the Florida Mayhem have shown that they are more than happy to go back to playing Orisa Sigma double shield with some hit scan presence in the form of Widowmaker on Ruins. If there's any map where that's going to get you somewhere, it's probably going to be here too. Now, man, the Atlanta Reign had probably one of the better Orisa Sigma pairings in the league, but they looked more reluctant to play it on Ilios.
Yeah, maybe if you're Atlanta, you want to try and do something like the Shock did earlier in the day with a Rush-style composition on offense built around like a Reinhardt in the mix. We'll see what they decide to do, though. But Florida, they'll come out. This is pretty standard for what we expect from them. Yaki on Genji, BKB on Ashe, and then you have the double flex support lineup. So you have Byram on the Zen and Gangnam Jin on the Batiste. Atlanta looks like they're showing what they're going to do as well. Which is rare from an attacking team in Overwatch. Usually we get some memes for a bit, but Atlanta's all business, locking in what looks to be a realistic comp. Maybe they go with a TP to the high ground and try and go through the hotel, and then Saucy switches to Genji. We'll see exactly how they decide to use the teleporter.
Anyway, that the Reign can close the gap quicker and thereby prolong their double shield setup. Happy they'll be. Saucy throws the TP down.
Yeah, high ground.
To the high ground. Again, the closer you can get to the point without actually being within line of sight of a defending team, the better off you're going to be. Your healing resources will be less taxed, but that is, yep, that's filthy. Byram just snipes Dogman out. It's the kind of thing you see from Alarm a lot on Philly as well.
And now you see Atlanta just kind of escort themselves back to the choke and start again.
Yeah, that is a gut punch whenever that happens. Not easy to connect those orbs. I often find some of these Zen players as well, they keep moving while the orbs are firing, so they don't all go to the same location and thereby don't really yield them any pickoffs. Gotta stay still for him to connect. Byram just giving himself the smallest little angle to fire through, thereby protecting him as much as possible for Zenyatta here. There's an amplification matrix though, man. The Holt is going to draw the Reign out. They're going to push forward here, and yep, that'll be Edison cleaning up Byram.
I was going to say, Florida has to use Immortality Field to live through that, but Florida with their own amp matrix is able to pick up 2 here. It's right around the corner, and you see Yaki trying to put some pressure on Edison. Doesn't want to go right up to the high ground. So what an odd fight. So it's like a fight that goes forever, and they lose Yaki anyway, but they do take out Edison, which is huge. Now you have the range advantage here.
That is actually an insane accretion from Hawk. He managed to alley-oop that somehow down the staircase at the Genji. That's unbelievable. He gets the kill, but it's not enough, though, for the Atlanta Reign to move up. Gangnam Jin quickly tending to the wounded, and BQB is ready to let up the OB go.
This is really sloppy. It's such a long fight that's just extended from both teams. That'll be a bomb that goes right into the back line. Nice Immortality Field here. Probably keeps Gargoyle alive.
I think Dogman realized he was fighting in the wrong weight class there as the burly Bob just comes and shoulder charges in. The finish off for the Batiste damage is good. And Yaki goes over the top here. Even low on health, he knows he can finish these kills, and he finds those last 2 kills with about 35 health. And this is the anatomy of a flex right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you use the blade there. You know that Transcendence is available for the Atlanta Reign, and you want to gain a little bit more stability on the defensive end in terms you don't want to allow the tanks to go out, and then maybe you're down a player and come back and just keep trying to do this mess of an exchange. Kind of resets the landscape a little bit using that blade, getting those pickoffs.
Yaki playing forward on the statue. Annoying, hard to get rid of him. Okay, it's going to be a double amplification Matrix now. This could be a little bit spicy. Gargoyle's able to suck up a lot of that damage there with Kinetic Grasp, but look at the placement. Nicely done with the Gravitic Flux. There was a Transcendence already in place. The Dogman's not too bothered. Both teams here just emulating each other's responses, but after that Transcendence came out, Florida also sprung into action, and Edison, trying to take matters into his own hands, is going to pull up short. Only 1 dead on the side of the Mayhem, and there's less than a minute left.
And I was going to say, if Atlanta was able to live through that, when they use the Gravitic Flux, that forces out Transcendence from Byram. Now you have an opportunity for like a free blade, so to speak. But they end up losing a few players. Saucy was extremely low during that as well. I'm not sure he would have even pulled out the blade. But now this gives Florida even footing, right? They'll have a blade coming into this fight against the blade for the Atlanta Reign. Yeah. We'll see who gets the better of the two.
Or can either team force out an early Immortality field to secure some blade kills, or at least to guarantee one of them? Saucy's looking, his opponents are split both ways. And here comes the blade, he's looking for it now. Gargoyle goes down. He's ended up finished off by his own Hypersphere damage, but most of it came from the blade, in fairness. Saucy gets rid of Fate now. What a deflect on the Gangnam Jin. Gangnam Jin's proclivity for using his primary fire getting used against him there, and the Reign come up at point A, almost running out of time doing so.
Yeah, it was, finally Atlanta is able to break on through. Still not a ton of time now to move the cart from point A through this streets phase to point B and get a completion. Atlanta, for the next fight, probably has to figure out a position to set up this ant matrix with Edison being able to get some damage on through it. Same with Dogman. But to do it safely here in the streets and put down a ton of damage is tough, because there's so many angles where the opposing team can just like get around a corner or get around a shield. It's not the ideal spot for an amp matrix.
Yeah, and you can see that's evidence there. Still, the Reign push up into it, use a halt as well to make sure that as many of the Mayhem are exposed to the amp's damage, and it works.
Yeah, the halt was good. The halt plus Discord Orb is enough to end up getting a pick on the Fate. Yaki goes in here, heal fall as well. Does the Mayhem even get another touch?
I mean, they probably will with Byron's Transcendence, but if that comes out too early, then Hawk's Gravitic Flux is going to be that much more devastating.
Gangnam Jin just hiding in the corner here.
Yes.
It's just nobody. There's nobody. I mean, obviously nobody's going to really expect
for
that,
really. Maybe he's trying to. Oh, okay.
Almost kills Edison.
Okay, so here's the Transcendence Gravitic Flux interaction. That's just healed up pretty comfortably by the Mayhem now, but Gangnam Jin's lost that Immortality field, and he gets punished, Matt, for being caught out of position. Eventually, he's run down. Gator finishes the job. Does that Flux come down after the Transcendence? It does, but there's an Immortality field in play, keeping the Reign up.
Yeah, and the Flux comes in from Gargoyle, and they are not able to contest, so you use some ultimates there for the Florida Mayhem, and you're not even able to contest the point, so that goes as well as it possibly could have for the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta now comes in, they have another Amp Matrix here, which they got good value out of last time, and they have a Blade versus no Transcendence.
What's Gangnam Jin trying to do there, Matt, playing off in that corner?
I think he's just trying to like make a play, like have them, because when you have to turn and look at two different angles like that, you're way more prone to get picked off in one direction or not. So he ends up dropping an Immortality field at his feet, just trying to stay alive for as long as possible, get some damage down on Edison, force players from Atlanta to turn.
Supercharger gets thrown out. Bob got knocked back up the slope here, so the Mayhem are actually able to break line of sight from Bob pretty easily, and still, they lose 3 at the start of the fight. Amplification Matrix got thrown up, but the Mayhem couldn't really use it. They were behind the 8-ball, and my God, it started well for the Mayhem, but they fell off.
I was going to say, outside of their attempts to take point A, that was dominant from the Atlanta Reign. Florida was nowhere to be found from the moment that the payload started to move until the end. Really good use of ultimates from the Atlanta Reign, lots of value. And you look at from once the payload was taken, we had 2 fights till the end of the map. That was it. Florida was never in a potential to get like any type of defense going at all.
Edison is looking absolutely sharp as attack right now on this Ashe, and it's so funny that so much of our narrative about the way the Reign were playing was that they didn't want to play Ashe, so they played Genji Tracer in full dive, and they just didn't want to try and match double shield. Maybe on Ruins that was the case. Maybe Edison didn't want to play Widow, but right now, Edison's popping off. Their Ashe looks vastly better. BQB looks almost non-existent by comparison on Kings Row.
So let's see what happens on offense, though. So Florida Mayhem, they have this look. Obviously, you can still change in the spawn for a very long time here. We see Widow give Ashe a lot of troubles here on point A on Kings Row because of the sightlines at the point. If you force teams back into this corner where we see Edison playing from right here, the Widow can take that high ground up on the top left from his POV, and that's an impossible fight for the Ashe to take. You just cannot fight the Widow at that type of range. And when the Widow gets control of that sightline, it's very difficult for Atlanta to push around the corner. So a little emote here from BQB. Just trying to like spot check using the third person.
Not something that is maybe immediately apparent, but Reinhardt players use this trick quite often as they get put into third person view just by using their shield. So it's more convenient for them and they're not as vulnerable, but BQB can do it from there. Just trying to see what Edison's playing. Edison playing very safely on the low ground, but kind of exposes himself to potentially being pounced on by the Genji. And that's an immortality field used early to keep Edison alive.
Yeah, and that's quite rough. We'll see now. BQB still in the spawn here. Like, look at the position that Atlanta's taking. This is such an odd spot for a fight to take place.
It means that Atlanta can't really push up around this statue the way they'd like to.
And they also know what I was talking about early. If they get forced into that corner and the Widow gets control of the sightlines of the point, they're doomed. So if you play on this pillar, you're denying any opportunity for that to happen.
Yaki was looking for a pick-off on Dogman. The best he can get is a trade for Bayrimu, who will acquiesce, and here's a Transcendence now to come forward. Dogman is not in the action. No Batiste available, and no healing now with Masa going down for the Atlanta Reign. And they're in deep trouble. Florida eventually break through.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like they were washing up against the dam for as long as they could, but, well, they break through, and BQB now will have a little bit more of a cushy sightline to work with.
Well, with that type of positioning on defense, it's a good shot because they don't want to get pushed into that corner, but they don't give themselves an opportunity for a second fight, and you also have to play perfect from that position. There's so many angles they can come from. They can collapse on both sides of the pillar on you. You can't really fall back because then you're going back into the Widow sightlines.
Yeah. I mean, Widow presents the eternal conundrum. Do I take more space for my team, or will that expose me to their Widowmaker, right?
That's an easy way to take care of the Widowmaker, just how we saw Saucy do it there. You were not able to do that on point A because there's no high ground he's able to access like that safely. Obviously not going to run into the spawn.
Yep.
Walls from BQB, and now a switch to Ashe. So you see they're immediately going away from the Widow here in this situation.
Blade and Supercharger for Yaki, and Edison crumples. One slash of the Blade is going to deal with him, and with Master out of the picture now, it has to be Dogman to account for most of the healing. Again, the Atlanta Reign are going to be pushed aside at the cost this time of Rally and of Gravitic Flux.
Well, I mean, Supercharger used there and Blade, so it's not the end of the world for Atlanta because Atlanta still has, you know, the nice time bank by completing the map. They also have another fight here, which if they win that, that's going to be even more time drained. They have an advantage because Edison didn't have to switch off of like a Widow to an Ashe, so they're an advantage in terms of Bob. Amp Matrix here from Gangnam Jin at the beginning. It'll also be an Amp Matrix from Dogman.
I mean, that's so nice. Gangnam Jin able to find Gator there as well, and the Kinetic Grasp is great because your team can now stand in position to benefit from your Amp Matrix without any fear of getting killed. I mean, it's a decent cone range that Gargoyle sort of has with that Kinetic Grasp, and this is just going to be to try and snarl up the Rain and prevent them from contesting, but Saucy still gets in with the Blade. Kinetic Grasp does actually save Gargoyle again, and now the Halt will clean the fight up, and the Mayhem are on the final stretch with plenty of time to spare.
So that's a fight where the Atlanta Reign, what really punishes them is just the part of the map that Florida takes that fight. Because Dogman is forced to use the Immortality so early because there's no cover for them to fall back on. They're already pushing up towards that point B checkpoint. They have to use the Immortality early, where Florida, they can hold on to it, and they can play that corner and kind of, you know, jiggle peek through that Amp Matrix.
Halt Accretion yields a very low health Fate who has to back away. He's lost that shield. Another Halt. He will actually give the Reign the kill, and so Fate stays where he is for the time being. And the Reign actually back up themselves now that reinforcements have arrived. You see, Fate never actually had to return to spawn. He just pops out from the right-hand side. Edison, oh, he wasn't inside the immortality field. That is a huge punishment there. Yaki spots the Ashe outside of the safe radius and punishes her.
Yeah, and that is all set up as the Florida Mayhem. They have BQB and Yaki controlling that high ground, and Atlanta never goes up and deals with it. And what happened? Yaki comes down, assassinates one on the Genji. They also get a Bob from behind that picks up a kill.
Oh, Gator tries a wrecking ball. It doesn't last very long. Discord orb, accretion, you name it, he got it. Yaki dashes in, realizes to his left there's a Tracer harassing him, but isn't too bothered right now. Bigger fish to fry. Now looking for the Batiste. And that will be the finish here for the Mayhem at 3 minutes and 17 seconds remaining. A very healthy lead over Atlanta. And I guess the only difference between these two and Atlanta was Atlanta didn't come alive until the last sort of phase of their round. Florida consistent all the way through.
Yeah, that was really fast there from the Mayhem. I think you kind of hit it where Atlanta's point A take was really poor, and I know they really didn't come alive until the end. I wonder if Florida considers playing Widow on defense. It's way riskier in the sense that you just don't have a lot of damage, and it's way harder to kind of hold those angles on the choke. But if you can get a pick off or two, you're kind of forcing Edison and the Atlanta Reign to adjust to that type of composition. But they come out with Ashe. It's way safer. I think the Widow is a way riskier, greedy in this type of situation, especially when you had a defense where it was pretty good when you had the Ashe in play.
And now Florida will make no changes as they go into defense here. Atlanta, okay, so this is interesting. If Atlanta opt to come out of the gates with that Ashe, it's going to provide a lot less threat than if Edison was to play Widowmaker like BQB did earlier on, right? It won't actually punish Florida as badly for moving off the point and actually getting aggressive and maybe leaving a support vulnerable for a couple of moments while they move past their shields.
All right, so see what Atlanta decides to do to make this push on offense way faster than it initially was. The last time we saw them on offense is both Genjis kind of dueling each other out. Just trying to get the opposite one low enough to potentially make a play on him. Yaki gets hit with a Discord. Has to be super careful. Yep. Gonna just back up, get line of sight, make that Discord go away.
Yeah, no Zarya here, so he actually just has to stay out of line of sight and shrug it off. He can't just get a barrier and go in. Master, safe spot for him. Keeping his front line nice and topped up, and he's fairly close to another ramp matrix here. Has to use immortality, but a lot of burst damage there.
Low.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamite really hurt BQB, trending towards his first ultimate. Yaki doesn't need any help. Unassisted goes in. The Discord orb on Dogman definitely helped, but the cleanup on Edison was all him. And now BQB sits back. I don't think the Reign have legs to get them through.
Can you come back though fast if you're Atlanta? I don't even think so. As you had what just Byram drop here.
You're going into an immortality field, so even if you try and go fast and like pressure the late spawn, the Mayhem can buy time.
Well, what's going to happen is Florida's going to use the Ant Matrix, and they're going to get a Gravitic Flux out of this. So you have nothing to stop that damage that's going to come down for the Atlanta Reign.
Also used his Matrix earlier on, Matt. I didn't really see much come of it.
Yeah, no, they used it when they turned that corner and tried to make a play, just as Yaki was able to get in the back line.
Yaki, once again, cat amongst the pigeons, and the blade is a silver streak. And the Reign are a red smudge right now. Nice clean up there for Florida, and they definitely look strong, holding the Reign back on point A.
Atlanta had a window there, Mitch. No, they had an opportunity to do it. You got that Ant Matrix so early, it's just allowing Yaki to just take out two. The Dogman gets really low. They have to use an immortality field. But then the dash through from Yaki on a Dogman, and then he gets Edison. Almost takes out Masa as well. It's just a huge game-changing play from Yaki. It was looking like Atlanta was actually going to make progress there on point A.
The Florida Mayhem now have so much time to get, just 43% of the capture on point A is what they need now. Do they go with the Widow, or do they go with something a little bit more consistent? Widow is interesting. People talk about Widow threat all the time because she discourages opponents to spread and take space, which is incredibly powerful. Like, if you force your enemy team to stick together, you get a ton of free real estate, can do a lot with it, but we'll see if Florida want to go with that.
I think if you're Florida, you play on the side of caution and consistency, and you pull out the Ashe here. You can make the Widow work like they did. It did take a little bit for it to develop.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not able to get those picks, you have to go to the Ashe anyway and put yourself kind of in range of Saucy to potentially make a play on the Genji. So you may as well start at the beginning here. This will give you an opportunity to earn a Bob, put some more pressure with Dynamites and halts, etc.
It means that you also can do more with that amplification matrix. Widow is not going to really look to fire through her Batista's window. She's going to be playing a completely different angle. And this is a much more solid way of playing the neutral game with Ashe, right? You have,
you can't. That can't happen.
Throw the playbook out the window. It doesn't matter anymore. Saucy drops early. The Mayhem essentially get gifted a nice little pick there, and well, that's an Immortality Field used really early on, and BQB in an unchallengeable position. Heads will roll, and the Florida Mayhem make it 2 maps to 0.
You could see that coming as soon as the Genji dropped, and then you see him just look towards the ground, coach gun up. And once you have the high ground there, no Genji, there's nothing that can contest. That's what's going to happen when you let a hit scan player like BQB make plays like that. You cannot lose the Genji that fast on defense. Especially like they're not even around the corner. They're not even around the statue yet. You lose Saucy and you can't recover from that.
I like the attempt at a play from the rain. They lose their Genji, so what they do, they push through the hotel, try and make a flank play. But BQB had the high ground at that point. He actually could see them coming, able to remove that Immortality Field much earlier than he otherwise would have. And
it's the only opportunity to make a play. They need to close the gap in that type of situation. You're not going to do it from that corner, just kind of walking them down. So you use the cover of the hotel, you try and wrap real quick and get close. But still, having that high ground control with a player like BQB on a hero like Ashe, it's just a dynamite, a few headshots, and that's the point.
I mean, this is what the Rain had to do. They had to beat a team that was, ranked higher than them, and they're stuck in that same Sophian paradox, trying to get up that hill. They're down 0-2 right now. They got one more chance to stay in this series. But first, we're going to go to our halftime game break and hear from our experts, and they can break down what we've seen piece by piece.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome to our game break presented by Cheese Groups, Zoe Costa and
giggling,
Reinforce. Zoe? Because you guys always say something funny right the second before we go live.
Never.
We don't do that.
No.
I mean, yeah, sure. It's all me. It's all in my head. I understand. You know what's not in my head, though? That's the Florida Mayhem dominating right now. So let's discuss the match at hand, as they are currently up 2-0 against the Atlanta Reign, who are trying their darnest, but so far it's been the Mayhem show all through the first two maps. On Ilios, Reinforce, you really praised their game plan coming into this and the strats they were running.
Yeah, I think the Florida Mayhem showed a few different looks on Ilios, and they looked quite good on all of them. I think there's a reason that we've solidified Florida Mayhem as the number 4th best team in the North American region when it comes to the power rankings. Both me and Costa did it, and we were quite clear about the fact that they are part of the top 4 quite steadily compared to, say, like 5 to 9, which is a bit, in flux and a bit, scattered all everywhere. The Florida Mayhem, they are consistently a really good team, and they showed a few different looks here, which I think speaks to the coaching and the IQ of these players. So they come out first on Lighthouse, and they win this Winston, Zarya, mirror matchup with the Genji and the Sombra, right? So there's a clear indication that these are some skilled players. Didn't quite fancy the Reaper we saw on Well. I have not appreciated seeing as much Reaper in this current meta. We saw it a lot in the APAC region as well. It's such a reactive hero that you're not quite in control as much of the team fights, and you let the opponents really take charge of the game and be in control of the game. But then as well, we go to Ruins, they bring out the Widowmaker, and they play the double shield composition, and they just dominated the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign were not prepared for that at all, and the Florida Mayhem showed that they had very good compositions in mind going into map 1, and they executed it very well.
Now, as we headed to Kings Row, Costa, both teams actually managed to take all 3 points, and we headed into overtime rounds for both of them. What were your biggest takeaways on that map?
I know it went to overtime, but this map actually wasn't as close as you really should put it. I think one of the main reasons that the Atlanta Reign did finish, they almost got full held, but the only reason I think they finished as well is because they walked through the entire third point due to the most ridiculous Gangnam Jin flank on Baptiste that I've ever seen. He's just hiding in a corner and then peeks at the last second, gets himself punished, and to try and overcome that, Florida used a lot of ultimates and they ended up snowballing, much like we saw in the last match. So I think the Florida Mayhem really had the edge, and you could see this in the statistics across the board because everyone is just playing so well. I think the Fate Gargoyle tank line is just playing so superior to the Atlanta Reign right now, and Yaki is just going absolutely ham, just slicing, dicing all over the place. You really got to appreciate how well Florida is playing. I think they might be the best team in NA right now playing this double shield comp. I don't think they have the flexibility of these other top teams, but right now their double shield looks incredibly clean, and I'm interested to see if this is going to be a major asset moving forward into these playoffs, because there are some maps in which double shield is so integral.
Now, going up against any member of the Florida Mayhem in their respective roles and, have a direct comparison, a head-to-head drawn between you and them, that's tough. Even tougher for new players. Saucy recently joining the Atlanta Reign, coming from their academy team. How did he stack up against Yaki? We will find out in our crunch time presented by Cheese Grooves.
Yeah, I think we start to look at it here. Obviously, Saucy played incredibly well yesterday against the Vancouver Titans. I think he was the player of the match, but unfortunately today, Yaki is definitely getting the better of him. You just look at the numbers. There is a sheer disparity. I don't think you can put this all on Saucy. As I said, across the board, I think the Florida Mayhem is stepping up and enabling Yaki a lot more, but just the disparity is what you need to look here. That is just how much value the Genji difference is giving. The damage isn't that different, but the final blows, the eliminations, is just showing why this was such a one-sided map and not really as, overtime, and it could have gone either way, as it kind of seems like.
Yeah, and you don't want to put too much pressure on Saucy as well, because keep in mind, he turned 18 less than a month ago, right, and just got promoted to this Atlanta Reign roster. So with that in mind, maybe it's time, an elimination match, you're on the brink of defeat, maybe it's time to bring in someone like Erster, or actually bring in Sharp and try to play some double hit scan or something like that. I think it's quite obvious so far that Saucy just isn't up to par when it comes to these Florida Mayhem members. And I mean, a lot of people aren't up to par with the Florida Mayhem, so nothing on Saucy, right? But obviously, it doesn't seem like it's quite working. Maybe try to change things up a little bit going into the second half.
Well, here is good news for Mayhem fans, maybe bad news for Atlanta fans, or at least bad news for Reinforce, because there's no substitutions coming in for either of those teams. So
Well,
we're rolling with exactly what we saw in the first two maps. But, of course, the Atlanta Reign, they are going to try and claw their way back in. Florida Mayhem coming in with confidence, though. Beating up Atlanta is our happy place.
Wow,
that's some fighting
so
words.
harsh.
That's really harsh. And I love the
Yeah.
social media team. They're like,
Yeah.
there you go. They're
Yeah,
the ones
take
starting
that.
trouble. Yeah, exactly. They're the ones starting the trouble, running their mouths, and then they send in the squad. I like that. Great tweet there coming out from the Florida Mayhem. And let's see if they can back it up in the second half of this beautiful quarterfinal match between the Atlanta Reign and the Florida Mayhem. Stick around. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Yaki is the new guy.
Best rookie tracer.
Confident and unique.
Flexible, yet strong.
Watch him fly.
Pivotal, really, in the Florida Mayhem turning around their entire franchise. 저는 받을 자격이 없다고 생각을 했는데 아시아권이나 이제 북미에서도 다른 선수들이 이미 잘하고 있어서.
Yaki has just been an absolute machine on this Tracer.
Yaki is on the hunt. This should be perfect.
Yaki's just doing so much damage to the back. No one can kill him at all. It works out for the Justice overall. Yaki, though, doesn't want to give up. He's Ryan. Huge shatter in the back line. Solo carrying this fight. Another shatter. The classic Echo. He's popping off.
Finally, there are teams that are afraid to play the Florida Mayhem now.
2020 오버워치 리그 시즌 MVP를 받는다는 것은 팬분들이나 이제 분리자들 관계자분들이나 다른 코칭 스태프분들이 저를 어떻게 봐주는지에 대해서 좀 나타내는 거라고 생각을 해요. 거기에 의미가 좀 많이 있는 것 같아요.
Will Yaki walk away with the T-Mobile $100,000 MVP prize? Cast your vote today. T-Mobile wants you to choose the MVP. Vote now at overwatchleague.com/MVP or on Twitter using the hashtag OWLMVP and add the player's battle tag. Nerds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch League. After your halftime break, I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matthew Morello. And I don't know, bro. You tell me. So far, no, not really any signs of resistance from, I guess, Atlanta on the second playthrough, at least, of Kings Row. It definitely felt like Florida were always a step ahead.
Yeah, and I think if you are not able to contain BQB and Yaki, we're going to see potentially a 3-0 here. I don't think Atlanta's been able to do that in the first two maps. I think the first map you saw Atlanta lose at one point. I think Johnny was talking about it. I mean, I really loved the Reaper compositions as well. I think Reaper is a logical counter to like a Sombra with like a dive, but at that point, Florida didn't really need to resort to it. I think they could have just played the Sombra of their own, but outside of that point, we really, it's kind of been a all Florida Mayhem game.
Yeah, especially once we'd gone over to Kings Row and it was back to double shield plus Genji plus some form of hit scan. It looked like that was really where the Mayhem looked confident. Now, this is why I ask you, what are the range strengths to play to as we head into Hanamura now? Because Atlanta are a team that we know are having very strong, double shield setup. Their support line is really good, whether it's Brig Batiste or Zen in there. That looks really solid. Saucy stays in here alongside Edison. So what direction do they have to go to try and get a leg up here on the Mayhem?
I think with Saucy staying in, they're going to commit to playing Genji. I mean, that's really what we've seen from him this far. I think you probably have to play double shield and try and play like Genji Ashe and just like match in a way. It's probably your best chance. I don't know like if they can still even do it in that regard. I mean, the Mayhem, I think they're having themselves some fun today. I saw Swing Chip on Twitter, the Florida Mayhem translator team manager, talking during the Kings Row game that the teams was bickering about goal battles and damage numbers in this spot. And she was like, some things don't really change no matter what rank you are. I mean, it's just the Mayhem seem like they're having a ton of fun with it. They're not really pressured by the Atlanta rain. And they look fantastic today.
And there you have it. Florida Mayhem feeling themselves a little bit there. And I mean, there's always good social media content. Swing Chip also tends to give a little bit of like a
really good insight,
look into what the players are up to. So I do recommend you give her a follow because these guys are cantankerous, man. There's plenty of antics to
all right,
to follow.
Here we go. Yeah, this is an antic right here.
Okay, not from the Mayhem.
They made it.
Bastion play with the Symmetra. Okay, Edison drops down.
Is it good enough, though?
So far, not so shabby. Edison, no! Well, yeah, that happens. The peak from Gargoyle, Hyperspheres, Yaki cleans up Hawk, and so many shields. How do you get through them all? Gator is trying to swim upriver, but Saucy drops in, charged up and ready to rumble.
Who would have expected they brought in Saucy to play the Symmetra here? To stay and play it, and the BQB looked like threw the dynamite at his feet. They still know Yaki's trying to hide. Yaki will probably get away with his life. They'll take point A, but I feel like I learned absolutely nothing about that because like it's a good strat at the start. It catches the Florida Mayhem off guard. Can you do it again here? I don't think so. We'll see what they do with the Symmetra here. Maybe you stay on it, try and get a barrier. It's good for like mobility for the whole team with a teleporter, but now can they just win in the neutral game? Can they win in a mirror? We haven't really seen them do it consistently.
It's like every great development in science requires you need to be able to replicate it time after time. Yaki's blade feels like deja vu when he's slicing the rain up like this. And it will be the Florida Mayhem come out with a comfortable fight win. And best part is, didn't even need a supercharger with that one.
Nope. Just send him in with the blade and everything will figure itself out after that. So Florida, they'll have a Bob, they'll have Supercharger, Transcendence, and Ant Matrix for this next fight. Atlanta comes in just to rally. Do they rally and got a point? I mean, maybe if you get the Symmetra barrier, you would consider it. It forces the Florida Mayhem to come closer to actually do some damage to you. And then also coming into the rally, it would be difficult.
That's cute, the low ground play, but look at his fantastic rotation by Guangzhou
nice.
and Al. They set up that Ant Matrix. This is where attacking teams normally want to be. BQB sitting well back here. I don't think he wants to be spotted, so he gets a safe and easy bob to point, and then he has insanely good vantage.
This is so weird, though, because we saw a glimpse of it. Yaki's in spawn, and he can just keep coming in and out of the door.
And just heal up, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this wall's great. It actually shuts down BQB on the high ground. There's not much he can really do. Still, the Mayhem can contest just by sticking Fate onto the point and then removing him from it. Saucy, though, is going to be doing a lot of damage right now if he gets into combat. And that high ground belongs to BQB. Look at Gangnam Din as well. Everyone has a nice little advantage, and Yaki can just dive in here. And Matrix for the back line, but Yaki's made it hard for the Rain to capitalize on that ultimate so far. Now we'll see Gargoyle. How long can he survive here? Nice little kinetic grasp, and that's bought valuable seconds here. And now Gator tries to finish him off, and he can't. Shield's in the way.
Almost. That was actually a really good Symmetra wall from the Atlanta Rain. They're able to make a ton of progress on the point, and that's actually one of the better uses of Symmetra we've seen in terms of using the barrier, kind of playing on the opposite side of it, able to get a ton of damage down onto Fate. Florida does a nice job of just juggling the point back and forth. You had a Gargoyle who's able to touch, BQB, Bob played a small part in that as well. You still have this Transcendence plus Blade now for the Florida Mayhem. You probably are able to get away with just Blade in this fight. Potentially, I say that because you don't know if Masa counters with a rally, you may be able to weather the storm if you're the Rain.
Atlanta already had themselves 2 ticks here, so that's Symmetra. Hijinks managed to net them a fair bit of catch-up progress. Now they have to revert back to a little bit more of a normal style. And now Byram, another opening pick here. We saw on King's Row the very first fight of their defense, and there's even more timely now.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. To lose your Orisa coming in, this will allow Gargoyle to get very close to another Gravitic Flux. And I think the more ultimates the Mayhem have here on the defensive end, you lose Massa here late.
I mean, there's no Lucio for Atlanta, and I mean, a lot of teams don't push forward like that.
Yeah, this is gonna buy Florida like almost like a full minute in terms of the clock, right?
I think now it has to be Atlanta. Yeah, maybe they go for. The problem is they can't all. Wait a minute.
No, they're gonna go on the right hand side, like loop around here towards the mid.
Yeah. Sigma and Orisa can't get around that far left side without Symmetra in play. Everyone else can get across that gap and stop the main tanks. Unless there's some crazy tech with like hyperspheres booping you up, like Sophie Choi on point A. I don't know. Either way, Yaki's no one's paying him any attention, so this Dragon Blade could be pretty nasty.
You don't even need it.
Okay, but 1 tick is all that's needed for the point, though, so the Mayhem actually have to stand here. I don't think Yaki necessarily wants to be here, but he's got no other choice. Still, I mean, look at the high ground for Gangnam Jin, by the way. Sat behind his amplification matrix, and this is the price you pay as Atlanta if you push in through main as a group.
So Atlanta does make it somewhat costly. Blade, Bob, Transcendence, and Ant Matrix there all had to be used for the Florida Mayhem because they're so worried about the rush to the point with a Bob, getting on and contesting. Maybe you have a small window here if you're the Atlanta Rain. You'll end up getting Blade Supercharger. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a little bit of an outmaneuvering on the part of the Rain. So well done to them. They get close. They force ults out of it. They're going to go for the same play again. This time Yaki, okay, he lingers a little closer to the point. He knows that it's just 1 tick, so the Rain would only have to stand there for a couple of seconds uncontested, and the round will be over. Now, they're going to be walking into a Supercharger and a Gravitic Flux here. So, Atlanta have a Super Blade. Gargoyle, look at him. I mean, playing far back. More than happy to concede that high ground.
Yeah.
The Mayhem really playing this one very cagely. They're going to give all the space that they need to. Only 30 seconds remain.
They want to make Saucy make a play with this blade, not clump up together and let him just kind of dice on through like 1 or 2 players.
All right, well, the Hulk was there. Saucy now going to try and come in with... Oh! Well, the Mayhem went on the point. Yeah, nice hold from Gator, actually. That looked like that was what sealed the deal. Gator, you saw him. The sequencing was quite impressive, right? Supercharger in midair. It drops as soon as he touches the ground, then shield, then hold straight away, and all of a sudden, round's over.
I tell you, this season we've had so many ridiculously odd endings to rounds, games, halves. That one came out of nowhere. It looked like we were gonna have a fight kick off. Saucy has his blade out. I believe Gargoyle, he ended up having a Graphitic Flux there that they never actually ended up getting any use out of. But still, for Florida, well, worst case, I mean, they finished with 19 seconds. Let's see. Okay, is there even a halt in play?
It was earlier. It might have been accretion stagger as well.
Yeah, or what they possibly could have been waiting for, and the timing was just like a hair of a second off, is for like an Orisa shield cooldown. Because Fate was really low. If he steps onto the point anyway, he's dead without the shield. So maybe you were kind of waiting for some kind of shielding to come back for the Florida Mayhem before touching the point.
I mean, you don't see these scenarios very often because most of the time teams either cap or they don't. Like getting 2 ticks changes the way the game works because your margin of error as defenders is much slimmer. You need to get back to the point much earlier, and it opens up. Like, so the Symmetra play from the Reign but gave them the opportunity to call something like that.
Edison Widow here on defense. This is interesting. We do see Widow played here a decent amount on defense. Widow can control. I mean, there's only 2 sight lines, right? You have to worry about.
Where's the Sigma playing for Atlanta? That's what I want to know. Look
They're playing low ground, yeah.
Yeah, it's not playing the high ground at all. So they're leaving Edison there and trusting that he can get away. They're actually doubling Hawk up with Gator to have 2 shields with this Orisa setup.
Well, they want to allow them to come in because they want to allow some more angles for Widow. You see right there, Gangnam takes a shot from Edison.
So messy. So messy. Okay, well, player up, the Florida Mayhem. Okay, it's only 2v3 now, so Yaki, realize
Yaki's just going to kill everybody.
He can solo this. He has deflect now. Hawk might get the better of him, but...
No, he's gonna make it back to this health pack. He's going to go right back in.
No reason not to. It means he can get past the first choke with no resistance offered. Look how far away Atlanta are. Atlanta actually have to give all this ground up, so... Hawk has to play. Even where Hawk is, even that is kind of too far forward right now, considering how close the Mayhem are as 6. And yeah, he has to back away.
Yeah, they're gonna all rotate around. They're gonna get another fight here for the Atlanta Reign.
1 tick. Let's see that second tick, not too far away now. And BQB, I mean, but now he gets to set up where. Oh, yep. Well. Oh my God. Yeah, before there was nuclear fission power, by the way. There was whatever BQB just did then, blowing the Widowmaker apart. Yeah, nice job. Okay, so another example of outmaneuvering here, Matt, on this point A offense.
And now I'm worried for the Atlanta Reign. Florida comes in here, Bob, Blade, Supercharger, Transcendence, and Amp Matrix. You don't have the Bob available for Edison because he's playing Widow. You don't have the Amp Matrix on Dogman here. You could be in a lot of trouble. This could be a really good time for the Florida Mayhem.
Saucy now. Yeah, he's definitely going to be called upon in this next fight to do something.
He can bob the point, draw them down,
rude.
yeah.
Yeah, BQB throws Bob out. Is he safe where he is right now? Saucy has to go for a blade here. Yeah, no other choice. He's going to walk into a Transcendence, and the Atlanta Reign, it is a house of cards that comes crumbling down, and they'll finish with, that's a lot of time. Yeah, 5 minutes, 17 seconds. Throw in a tactical crouch for good value, and you've got the Mayhem way ahead.
Yeah, he just goes high.
Stop, man.
Hey, he misspelled. So
right, I didn't know if he was calling him a dope. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So now you get a minute for Atlanta, 5 minutes 17 for the Florida Mayhem. And mind you, Atlanta, they make their best progress. I mean, they make their only progress on point A, and really a lot of their progress on point B running a Symmetra. Will you be tricked a second time or duped into this again if you're the Florida Mayhem? They could play further back on the point.
And why would you give so much space up though? Like,
yeah, well, no, I mean, because the Symmetra, they'll TP this Bastion in. If you just play point and meet the Bastion at the point of like teleportation, there's not really much you can do at that point.
Here's Bob.
Yep.
You know, he's got a job to do.
This is so difficult for Atlanta.
Mauled on his way down. Yaki, yeah, I mean,
you have two options. You can stay up there and die to the blade, or you can drop down where you still have to look for the Genji up on the high ground or coming down for you and keep your back to the Bob. I mean, you had no real shot there for the Rain.
This is more conventional, the setup for the Mayhem on defense. Take note of the Sigma on the right side high ground. He's not playing with the Orisa like the Rain were, which is it's just interesting. I mean, I don't know what's better, to be honest. I have to ask a coach. I feel like the off-angle Sigma is always a good option, providing he doesn't get caught off in the rest of his team.
It all kind of depends on the opposing team's composition. So
there we go. Beat boot,
another TP, same spot.
Okay, shield
is it the
lasts for a
same
while.
result?
2 shields are down. No one's fallen yet. Okay. BQB, he's in position. The Immortality Field already had to be used, and BQB definitely ascends to the high ground now. Dynamite thrown in. Dogman has to stay out of line of sight. Master dispensing repair packs. And Gator trying to keep a shield in front of the Bastion right now, but there's too many angles held by the Mayhem. They encircle and corral the Rain, and then they carve out that Bastion like a tumor. You hate to see it for Atlanta Rain. Their plan falls flat.
Let's see if Masa, can't get to the point. That'll be a Discord and a headshot from BQB. Gator comes in on the Wrecking Ball, touches for a split second, then gets knocked back.
Bob runs on out. Gargoyle pushes forward, looking for another accretion. Let he who is not fed throw the first stone, and Sigma's got plenty of those.
All right, so now if you're Atlanta, how do you make this happen on defense? Masa in the chat says winnable. The Gator saying you're not going to win. So maybe the Atlanta Rain have the incredible strat, the greatest strat of all time, to not allow a single tick on point day for 5 minutes and 17 seconds.
And all you have to do is first type in chat, "You're not winning." Get in their head early, like a brainworm.
Is this what they're gonna ride or die with? Okay, so we got
is this a black market team comp? Is this authorized by coaching staff?
This is so this is maybe where they're gonna just try and keep splitting them off with a May wall, and then you kind of have like the Doom and the Rhine to really brawl out in the front. Or they're going to where are we going here? Okay.
This is like some dark apocryphal ritual Atlanta Rain
what is this? All right.
Okay.
Let's see how this works.
Fight close. This is going to be a wall in front of us. They descend upon them. Immortality Field thrown down. Yaki go brrr, but it's not going to be enough. Hawk is going to be able to get rid of him. So Atlanta, they get the first kill, but they lose Gator. And oh my, this might be going wrong really quickly.
I was going to say, how long can you keep this going for? We have Yaki on the Pharah. Butter's like, what the hell? What the hell just happened?
All right.
I think
Atlanta, that is 10 points for Gryffindor for using a rude team composition.
I like it. Atlanta, they knew this was difficult. They wanted the Mayhem to pay, and even if they paid for only one fight and maybe a death or two, they still made them pay.
That's right. They may take our map. They may take our point, but they'll never take our dignity. We'll give it instead. All right. The Atlanta Rain, with a composition they dubbed the East Coast Special, has failed.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I wonder if we'll see the Florida Mayhem turn to the East Coast Special in the semifinals.
Oh my. The Florida Mayhem.
They'll bust out the East Coast Special. I'm not sure they need it.
He and his top knot clearly not impressed by the Atlanta Rain's offering there. And Atlanta, honestly, that's a disappointing result. But
yeah.
I think by now, if you're a pundit, if you're a seasoned, Overwatch League Redditor, you're probably not too surprised to see Atlanta once again fail to rise above their assigned station, Matt.
I'm not surprised, but I will say I thought this match would have been closer. And maybe I thought it would have been closer, not entirely because I thought Atlanta was like that great of a team. I thought Florida was a little bit up and down right now, but I think they definitely proved that to be wrong today. Florida looked really strong.
Yeah, I mean, they look good, whether it's Ash, Genji, they played that, they showed us a little bit of a Sombra, setup with the Reaper, which looked kind
Just
of weird.
Just don't give me Reaper again, yeah. Just give me everything but that Reaper look again.
It's no hero pools right now, so you're just going to play double shield, Genji, Ash, Baptiste, Zen, maybe Brig. You're probably just going to win like that. That's all you have to do. So, again, that's all you have to do maybe against a team like the Atlanta Reign, who's seen a little bit shakier on the fundamentals of that team composition. But up against a team like the San Francisco Shock, which will be the Mayhem's next opponent, will that be enough? Are they going to be enough to put a dent in a buoyant Shock?
It might, because I think if the Shock come in and they want to play, let's say the Shock try and play just like the Ashe and the Genji and they try and match, I think the Florida Mayhem have the potential to be able to go toe-to-toe in that type of composition, where I think the Shock, where they win is the things that we saw today from them on like King's Row, right? They can put together a really strong like rush composition. They can do a lot of different things with their lineup. I think that's what separates these two teams. But in the mirror, I think they can definitely contend.
Well, I think the Mayhem have definitely set themselves up now with reasonable expectations for quite a blockbuster matchup tomorrow against the Shock. And it's time to talk about one player who has shown that your skill clearly inversely proportional to the amount of letters in your name. Our player of the match presented by Xfinity is going to be BQB, for dominating when it came to the hit scan role across the series.
I thought time and time again he was able to make big plays. I think him and Yaki both had phenomenal days for the Florida Mayhem, where there was Yaki with a blade or BQB being able to get the pickoffs long range every time. And it allows you to not have to expend a ton of ultimates to win fights. A lot of times in King's Row specifically, he was able to get a headshot, start off a fight, get an early pick. Makes Florida Mayhem's job a little bit easier when you have a hit scan player like that.
Yeah, nicely done. Nicely staying safe, but providing some big deeps when required. And look, I mean, the Florida Mayhem, they don't need to worry too much about the depth of their roster right now. This meta looks really good for them. There is a world where if you can't play Ashe, or if you get just straight beat in the Ashe on Ashe matchup, that where you'd have to play the Genji Tracer, that things don't look as good for you. If you are going to beat the Florida Mayhem, I think you need to win the Ashe matchup first and foremost. If you can do that, you can put pressure on BQB, then you will be able to make this team go quiet. And this is what San Francisco have been able to do a couple times.
Yes and no. What I think you could see Florida Mayhem kind of fall back to in terms of like a secondary composition would be something like the Winston Zarya with Genji Sombra in the mix, right? I think that's one that they can definitely fall back on if playing the long-range hit scan stuff is not working for him.
Looking good though. Look, Matt, he's over that 10 final blows per 10-minute sort of threshold. Yeah. So that's when you're really starting to purr along nicely in the DPS position. I think Yaki looked very good as well. I think the Mayhem are very well suited right now for this this particular meta. They look incredibly good. Jin has looked incredible as well. And we have one more spot to fill for tomorrow's semi-finals, Matthew. I mean, the winner of Los Angeles Valiant and Paris Eternal go up against the Philly Fusion in our second semis. So, again, we're looking down the barrel of 3 incredible games back-to-back tomorrow. But before we get there, we get the Valiant versus the Paris Eternal, where Paris, vastly favored to win that matchup. But the Valiant have been known to dig deep when it counts.
Yeah, we've seen some upsets come out from the Valiant. They have a roster that has 3 explosive damage dealers. Can they come out with something different today to maybe stop the Eternal?
Yeah, that's what we're going to be looking for. And of course, the Paris Eternal, no shortage of world-class players on that roster. And of course, MVP candidates representing there. So that's a matchup that I'm hotly anticipating, especially some of the map picks as well. I think that might end up being quite important. And we'll see, if the LA Valiant can actually squeeze some sort of off-the-wall team compositions in, or I feel like this game either goes one way or the other. I really I don't know how close it will be.
Well, you also know that the match was moved to the last match of the day because the Paris Eternal were having some power issues. So have they been able to play it all today? How does that affect their just kind of mental going into the game? And maybe the Valiant, they've had some time to sit around and watch some more footage. Come up with some different stuff they could potentially run.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, we had obviously power outages fairly widespread over the northeast, right? And that's around where I believe Paris Eternal are kind of based at the moment. So I think they're suffering from that as much as anybody on the East Coast is. And yes, it looks like the power has returned for the Paris Eternal. So let's hope that they've actually managed to do plenty with that time that they've had left over to practice or prepare.
Yeah, and you see the tweet from Paris out on social. The power has returned, which means we will play. If you have power, you're ready to go. As for the,
I believe that means that the power has returned,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I didn't write our League Ops rulebook, but I think in there somewhere, if you have power and you're able to play, you can play. So there you go. That's kind of the ruling. So Paris, they were ready to play earlier in the day, obviously, but just the power outages prevented that from happening. But it's good we'll get to see that match here just a little bit, because it could be one where we see an upset. I said that with this one, and I actually probably felt better about this one potentially being closer.
I felt like this was more likely to be an upset.
Yeah, I felt like this one could have been closer than what the Paris Valiant series would have predicted, but the Valiant are always a scary team. You don't know whether to judge them on how we've seen them play, a few weeks ago versus recently, and can they get back to that from a few weeks ago? So they're a dangerous team. We've seen the Valiant hit higher highs than Atlanta has throughout the season, so you never know if they can turn it on here.
I mean, I love this tweet. It came up on Reddit as well, but Avala was filming the players sort of passing the time while their power was out. I'm always interested to see like what gamers do when power's out, like how they sort of cope. Essentially, I don't want to ruin it for you, but a baggage cart has been involved.
Oh,
so
okay.
Don't want to say too much more than that.
Oh, I think I saw that. But usually if I have no power, I just complain to my wife about the fact that we have no power, which she loves when I complain about not having power.
I mean, I'm sure that she would probably try and fix it if she could. I mean, normally I'd go and maybe I'd go to the gym, but I can't go to them right now. They're kind of shut, so I don't know what I do.
Normally I go to the gym as well. No, that's one of my main hobbies.
You're so full of nonsense. I wish I could just say stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like there's some sort of binding code that prevents me from just saying stuff that's like absolutely not true with a straight face.
I mean, you haven't listened to yourself then.
Yeah, okay, bro.
The monitor in your headset might not be tuned correctly. I don't know.
Oh no, I mean, I can still hear myself. Unfortunately, I can still hear you as well. So we are, we're going to be getting an interview in a moment. We are just waiting until everybody is ready to deliver us some interesting insights, because for the Mayhem, right? Yeah. A team that has looked so good amongst a lot of these cups, like anything less than victory here in the Countdown Cup is surely not something they're going to be happy with. So now we do have a moment to get some words from Yaki, who's here with Swing Chip. So take it away.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Yes, I am here with Yaki and Swing Chip to translate. So congratulations on the win. That was a pretty dominant performance. Were you confident heading into this match?
자, 준기 선수 우승 축하드리고요. 저희가 압도적으로 우승을 했는데 이번에 저희가 에틀 상대가 좀 만만하게 좀 자신감이 있었나요, 저희가?
저희가 일단 연습 경기에서 최근에 좋은 모습을 보여가지고 애틀란타는 3대0 낼 건 알고 있었는데 왕의 길이랑 하나무라를 그 마지막 포인트까지 밀릴 줄은 몰랐어요.
Oh, so he said our scrims were going well. We knew we were going to 3-0, and actually we were surprised that we got pushed all the way to third point on King's Row and that we got full capped on Hanamura too.
Wow, that's confidence right there. Well, were you surprised in getting spawn camped on Hanamura?
그 하나무라 때 저희 마지막 공격 때 그 스폰에서 공격 당했을 때 좀 놀라셨나요?
Never. 전혀 몰랐어요.
Never surprised.
No. He meant like we never could have anticipated that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone anticipated that. So after that win, you're up against the San Francisco Shock next. How are you feeling heading into this match?
저희가 이제 다음 상대가 쇼크인데 쇼크가 다음 상대인 거에 대한 소감 좀 알려주세요.
저번 첫 번째 토너먼트 때 저희가 이제 4대2로 결승전에서 졌었는데 이번에는 결승에서 만나고 싶었는데 일단 저희가 먼저 올라가서 쪼크 밟고 올라갈 생각이고요. 쪼크는 좀 힘들게 이길 것 같아요.
Okay. So he said Shock. The last time we met them in the Melee, I think it was. We met them at the finals and we lost to them 4-2. We wanted to meet them at the finals again, but since it's the semis, we're just gonna count them as a stepping stone. We're gonna step on them and we're gonna move forwards. But we definitely think it's gonna be a tough match.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that one. So moving on, you got nominated as the MVP for the entire season. How does that feel being a rookie in your first year?
이제 야키 선수가 루키이잖아요. 올해 처음으로 들어오셨는데 그거와 상관없이 이제 MVP 선정을 받으셨잖아요. 그 선정이 그 준기 선수한테는 어떤 의미가 있는지 알려주세요.
일단 제가 요번 연도 처음으로 리그에 이제 들어왔는데 기껏 해봐야 신인상 후보까지는 올라갈 수 있다고 마음 먹었는데 MVP 후보까지 갈 줄은 진짜 전혀 몰랐어요. 그만큼 저한테 좀 뜻깊은 것 같아요.
So he said, this is my first year in the Owl. Honestly, I thought I'd be like maybe a runner-up for Rookie of the Year awards in consideration, but I actually had no idea I'd get nominated for MVP. So that has a lot of meaning to me.
Personally, I think you absolutely deserve it. Is there anything that you want to say to the fans to get them to vote for you?
커스터님 말하시는 개인적으로는 진짜로 야키 선수는 충분히 받을 만한 자격이 있다고 말씀하셨고요. 마지막으로 저희 팬분들한테 그 투표해달라고 한 말씀 해주세요.
또 투표미? 어떻게 뭐라 해야 되지?
그냥 뭐 vote for me 하셔도 되고 한국말로 하셔도 되고요.
투표 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.
So he said, I'd like to humbly request for your votes. Thank you very much.
Very formal. Absolutely love it. All right, thank you very much for the interview and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're waiting up, coming up, the Los Angeles Valiant play against the Paris Eternals, so we're going to be going to that right after a quick break. See you soon.